No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve Postgame Show, presented by Play Now, the official sports betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets, starts now.
Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. For all those joining us live on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good evening, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show. Along with Joe Pascucci, I'm your host, Drew Mandel, here to discuss the Winnipeg Jets snatching defeat from the jaws of victory, seconds away from a much-needed 2 clean points in regulation. The Winnipeg Jets find a way to instead grab a defeat, losing in overtime 4-3 to the Minnesota Wild. Certainly can argue that the Winnipeg Jets deserved better, but Joe Pascucci, as you know from your years of covering sports in Winnipeg and really from the World Series all the way here to the Illegal Curve post-game show, you know just how thin that margin of error is, and the Winnipeg Jets more often than not this year find themselves on the wrong side of the ledger tonight, being, I think, exhibit A on what can go wrong when your attention to detail, one of my favorite sayings here on the show, just sometimes you just lose that attention to detail and you just maybe take your eye off the ball for a brief second, and it goes from a clean 2 points for the Winnipeg Jets to instead the 1 point in the overtime loss. Tons to discuss tonight. How are you, my good friend? Thanks so much for joining us tonight on the program.
Well, thanks for having me. And it's so much to discuss. There's no such thing as moral victories. And right now, that's about all the Jets have to celebrate. I mean, this was a really good game on their part. Up until there were some really bad decisions by some certain individuals. And the no bigger bad decision was by Dylan DeMello in the final seconds of that game, taking that needless penalty as retaliation for, I am assuming, because Hockey Night in Canada never showed the hit in the corner that Eriksson Ek had delivered on Josh Morrissey or on Dylan DeMello. I thought it was DeMello, but it may have been Morrissey.
It was Morrissey, I think. And then I think he was trying to, exact retribution on his longtime defensive partner. And, look, I like standing up
for everything. That was not the time nor the place.
Exactly right. If you want to take his number, if you want to take Eriksson Ek's number, and I'm fine with that, and you want to deliver a cross check to the small of his back next game, or you want to do it after the Jets score into an empty net and you want to cause a kerfuffle at the end of the game, by all means, to the victors go the spoils. But doing it when he did it at that opportunity, and yes, I can certainly have time for the argument that it's a soft call by the official, but you cannot put yourself in the position where the official can make that call. And yes, I have certainly time for the argument that the official should have called the initial hit on Josh Morrissey, because they probably should have. But we know, we've watched this league for so long, Joe, and everybody joining us on the program here tonight. We've watched this league for so long that officials, they are human. They will miss a call and then they will take a retribution penalty instead, and there is no rhyme and there is no reason, and it's not an example of what I would describe as good officiating, but they are human. And so don't even let yourself get into the position whereby their human error can factor into the end of a game. Dylan DeMello, the hockey porn himself, if you remember what Paul Maurice said back in the day, coach's porn, to be perfectly exact, was not a good example of Dylan DeMello being at his best for the Winnipeg Jets at the end of tonight's game.
Yeah, and we're going to hear a lot of comments about Dylan DeMello tonight. And this season has been a struggle for him, as it has been for the majority of the Jets. But this season, he's never been really a number 2 defenseman, though he's playing with Josh Morrissey, and we all understand that. But he has played above his position. Really, he should be a number 4 defenseman on this team. And the past few seasons, he has been brilliant partner for Josh Morrissey. But this season, he's been a liability more often than not. And I mean, look at that goal by Kaprizov.
Kaprizov, sure.
Just blew right around him. tonight. And, again, I don't want to pick on Dylan DeMello, but we will have to be critical of him tonight for his decision in the last minute. But he has not had an outstanding season or a stellar season.
Right.
And he cost his team a point tonight.
Yeah. I mean, look, you don't. I mean, it's just the way the Winnipeg Jets have been. I mean, a lot this year. I mean, there's been a lot of games that they haven't deserved to get any points in, and they justifiably haven't received any of those points.
Yeah.
But it goes to show you in this league, when things are struggling, they really, it really is that hard to dig your way out of it, because this should have been one of the better wins for the Winnipeg Jets this season.
Yeah.
2 points, Saturday night, sold out crowd in downtown Winnipeg. This should have been an opportunity for them to, begin to write a new story for the, post Christmas until Olympic break portion of the schedule. And we were talking about it before we started. You said that based on, the performance of the Winnipeg Jets so far this year, crunching the numbers, looking at the schedule, looking at everything, in terms of the teams around them and where they are in the Western Conference standings, that they could afford to lose 15 games. 15 games in and around that number is what you sort of crunched.
Yeah, 15 games outright. I mean, that'll get them to hopefully 96 points.
Sure.
Which is borderline to get into the playoffs, but wildcard teams have done it with less in the Western Conference. So right now we're at 14 and a half on my meter of playoff chances for the Jets. They can't afford to lose more than 15 games.
And this shouldn't have been one of them. This just absolutely shouldn't have been one of them. They played a good hockey game. They were
brilliant, brilliant at times.
I mean, they really shut down Minnesota for a lot of this game in terms of what did Minnesota end up with in shots on goal? I mean, something like, I think it was 17 shots on goal, 19. So it was 19. But really, Minnesota after 40 minutes was at 11 shots on goal. That is the suffocating defensive Winnipeg Jets that we have been used to seeing the last couple of years and haven't seen really, at all to speak of this year. The last time you saw the Jets play a suffocating game was 2 Saturdays ago, when they did it to the Washington Capitals on home ice, where that was the best game I think they played probably this season. And tonight was shaping up to be that way. They get the 2 goals, later in the second period to go from being down 2-1. They play a very good third period where for the most part they're where they need to be. They kill off the penalties that they needed to kill off, except for at the end of the game. And that's just how it happens. It just snowballs on you, in a blink of an eye. And I think that's what the Winnipeg Jets are just sort of, this team is still flawed. We know what the flaws are. You talk about, Dylan DeMello and him playing, that he's not a top pairing right side defenseman, and he's not, and he's been up there for so many years for the Winnipeg Jets, largely because Josh Morrissey is so good.
But he's been a good partner for Morrissey.
Right. The problem is, as soon as, when you're already playing in an elevated position, and as soon as you get, a quarter of a step slower, or an eighth of a step slower, then you become exposed even that much more. And that's what I think you're just seeing, that the Winnipeg Jets need that youth to come up. They're almost between, their veterans are almost too veteran, and they're not being backfilled by anybody of the youth, and the youth isn't ready to do so. So you end up with what you have right now, which is just a veteran team that's one line driven, and other than that, just struggling consistently.
Yeah, and that's a disappointment, because you see a lot of young players on other teams around the NHL, and you don't see that with the Jets. Right now. And for those of you watching or listening, we haven't forgot about the face-off at the end of the game.
Well, so let's talk about
the decision to put Morgan Barron out there and not Jonathan Toews.
Well, Scott Arniel is struggling. I mean, it's not just the players on the ice. Scott Arniel is struggling with his decision-making when it comes to, as a head coach. And I mean, the head coach's decisions are, in the spotlight, because, that's a decision, just like the decision against Utah before the break, starting with that Adam Lowry line in overtime in Utah there. That was a poor decision on his part. In this instance, you have Jonathan Toews, who's already won one face-off for you in tonight's game that had directly led to what was then the game-winning goal. And
Should have been,
instead of
yeah.
him being on the ice there, you elect to go with Morgan Barron. Jonathan Toews was 10 wins, 3 losses in the face-off circle in tonight's contest. So he was dominant. And that's
Right.
frankly the best attribute that he's been bringing to the Winnipeg Jets this season is his skill set in the face-off circle, which we all knew how good he was in the face-off circle, and he still is that good. I was shocked that he wasn't out there for that face-off draw. I'm sure you were too, Joe.
I think
And
everybody was. Yep.
they were talking about it on the Hockey Night in Canada panel, that they were shocked that he wasn't out there, or even Scheifele wasn't out there. I mean, because of all the people to choose to take that draw, I mean, Morgan Barron, was poor. He had 1 win and 5 losses in the face-off circle in tonight's game. Scheifele was better. Lowry was better. Toews was amazing. And you choose to go with Morgan Barron. And again, that is a decision that is going to be, the spotlight should be on. It's a costly decision. It's a costly decision by the Jets head coach that he has to own, because, it directly led to a tying goal.
Yeah, no, there's no question about that. I mean, I'm going to love to hear if Scott O'Neill is asked that question after the game. No coach, I don't think, certain coaches don't like to be questioned about their decision making, but someone I'm sure is going to ask that question tonight. It'll be interesting to hear what he has to say, what his thinking was on that. I mean, going back to Utah, in that overtime when he started Lowry did win the draw, but he won it over to Velarde, and Velarde kicked it to the Utah player, and that was it. And but yeah, I just don't see why you don't put your best face-off guy out there. And Jonathan Toews does kill penalties on occasion, this season. So
and it's not, and really, again, the circumstances are what is more important. Where this isn't your traditional 2-minute penalty kill that you're trying to that you're trying to set up at this point in time. This is an end of the game situation. You win that draw. First of all, you have a couple. If you win that draw, you can rag the puck in the corner. You can fire it the length of the ice and take the 20 seconds or whatever it's going to take. And then Minnesota's that much more desperate. They're down to one last opportunity. By the fact that they lose that draw, I mean, we know in this league that 30 seconds of zone time, which is what Minnesota was going to get with a one face-off draw, because you're 6-on-4, they're going to have an opportunity to do something. You have to. It's like starting in overtime. Possession is the key when you start overtime. When there's 30 seconds to go in a 6-on-4 situation and you're up by a goal, possession is the key. Everything else, you win that draw, the Jets fire it down the ice. If you don't want Toews on the ice for the next 25 seconds, you'll have plenty of opportunity to make the line change. Then you can send Barron over and Toews off, or whatever you want to set up for your PK. This was just, and of course it's Morgan Barron. It's sort of ironic that it's Barron of all players, because that's who everybody, as this team has been struggling game in and game out, that's who everybody is clamoring for to get an increased opportunity.
And he played well this time. And he played well tonight. He was strong along the boards. He was a force out there. He played well. But all that forgotten now because he lost that face-off? Unfortunately, probably yes.
Right. But again, you're putting him in a position not to fail, because that's too strong. It's not like it's impossible for him to win a draw. Joel Eriksson-Ek, had taken the majority of the draws for the Wild in tonight's game. Took 23 of the Minnesota Wild face-offs in tonight's game. So 23. I think there were 60 face-offs in tonight's game. Eriksson-Ek took 23 of them. Morgan Barron, had taken 6. We're not talking about. We're talking about a sizable disparity here. Joel Eriksson-Ek is a veteran guy. Plays, again, if you're Minnesota, that's the guy you want taking that draw. And then when you're telling me that Minnesota Wild aren't absolutely elated and scratching their brow when they see that it's Eriksson-Ek against Morgan Barron, and it's not Toews, and it's not Lowry, and even it's not Scheifele. Again, this was a bad decision by Scott O'Neill, second in consecutive games, that he needs to wear. And he, frankly, I think he might not like being asked about it, but I think it's a very justifiable question and something that he needs to explain his mindset. There's no, if you have a reasoning to it, I want to hear it, because I'll defer to him because he's been around this league for a long time. I won't necessarily think it's the right decision, but I think everybody deserves to understand what his logic is when it comes to that choice that he made in tonight's contest.
Yeah. Or was it the assistant coach who made that decision?
Well, whomever it is in the coaching staff. I mean, and
it'll be Scott's responsibility ultimately, but he wasn't handling the time out there at the bench, right? It was the other assistant coach who was handling that, and Taves was out there on the ice. He was standing on the ice, listening in, and the camera was kind of focused, on him. And then, we're all, as said, we're all shocked that he's the one that goes off the ice and Barron stays on.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, it's just a decision that is going to lead to a lot of questions from, I think, a lot of different people, and I'm very curious. Unfortunately, we are not going to bring you Scott Arniel live tonight here on the post game show. But this is what Scott Arniel. This is courtesy of our buddy Mike McIntyre, who is obviously reporting live from the Canada Life Center in tonight's game. This is what Scott Arniel had to say, or one of the things he said so far as he meets with the media. This is regarding the non-call on Josh Morrissey that eventually led to the DeMello penalty. Quote, "That was a terrible non-call on Josh Morrissey. Absolutely terrible non-call. It should have been called hard. I think it's supposed to be head first into the boards, and then a ticky-tack little call after that, referring to the penalty on Dylan DeMello." And Mark Scheifele also, spoke about the Dylan DeMello penalty. Let's see if I can get it up here real quick for everybody that's watching us live tonight on the Illegal Curve post-game show. Mark Scheifele said he had no issue with Dylan DeMello taking the retaliatory penalty late in the third. He said Josh Morrissey, quote, "is one of the best defensemen in the league and needs to be protected." Scheifele felt that the officials missed an obvious call on the Wild. And, I have time for both of those arguments. I have time for what Scott Arniel's saying, and I have time for what Mark Scheifele is saying, that the refs missed a call on Josh Morrissey. But don't compound the error. Don't make the error, again, they missed the call. I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Referees bury the whistle in the final couple of minutes.
Right. But don't, again, like I said to you before when we started the show here on the post-game show, take a number. You're going to see the Minnesota Wild plenty of times. It's not like it's not like this is an Eastern Conference team that you're not going to see, maybe again this year if you've already played them twice. Take a number. You know that Eriksson Ek drilled your guy. First of all, the best, winning will make you feel a lot better. And two, next game, you saw Logan Stanley and Middleton drop the gloves, have somebody go up against Jacob Eriksson or not Jacob Eriksson. It was Jacob Middleton. I'm confusing my Wild players here, but have somebody, take a piece out of Eriksson Ek or take a piece out of one of the Minnesota Wild players. That's how you get retribution. That's how you defend and protect Josh Morrissey, not by taking a penalty in that instance. You just have to be smarter than that. You just have to be smarter.
And I can go back a few years ago. I've forgotten who the Jet player was. His last name began with a B. He was like the 6th, 7th defenseman. But in the exhibition game, Luke Cunnin had taken out Brian Little at the end of a meaningless exhibition game, and Little got a concussion. Well, later that season, probably the last time they played the Wild, the Jet defenseman, again, his last name started with a B. I don't have it on the tip of my tongue. But he got into a fight with Luke Cunnin. And basically jumped him from behind and beat him up, and it was in retribution for that hit on Brian Little. And after the game, I remember in the dressing room, Blake Wheeler presenting that player with something and saying, "We take care of our own."
Right. And you know what? And players have long memories. These guys are elephants out there. They know exactly things that have happened on the ice that they don't like, that they remember, and that they're going to use to fuel them for years to come.
Yeah.
Again, this was a game. Was it Nathan Beaulieu? I mean,
there you go. Thank you.
There you go. Good job, Jason Grelnick. I'll put it up here on the screen. if I can, for whatever reason.
Yeah.
It's not letting me do it, but
No, I can see
Nathan
it.
Beaulieu.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Good
So
job,
good job.
Jason.
Yeah, Jason, good job. You win there you go. Let's put it up there on the screen right there. There you go. I'll tell you what that's warranted for. It's the Wheatland Hockey Heads Up Hockey Play of the Game here, courtesy of Jason Grelnick, being able to remember that one from many a year ago. That's what we love to chat here on the Illegal Curve Postgame show, because when you and I or Ezzy or Dave, I mean, I think Dave still exists, I'm not entirely sure where he's been, but that's okay. But when you or I or Ezzy can't remember something, then the chat is there who reminds us of that. So big thanks to our friends at Wheatland Hockey for their continued support of the Illegal Curve post-game show, building skills, character, and excellence on and off the ice. A fresh approach to youth hockey and development, proudly serving Winnipeg, Manitoba, and surrounding areas. I'm not sure that Wheatland Hockey is advocating for retribution on the ice. In fact, I'm pretty sure they're not, but they understand at least that's a good memory from Jason Grelnick there, reminding everybody about Nathan Beaulieu.
I think retribution. I'm still waiting for the Jets to go after Mike Hartman for that high stick on Perfetti.
Yeah.
Nothing has happened to him since.
From a few years ago.
Yes.
Not Mike Hartman. You're confusing your Jets eras. Ryan Hartman.
Ryan Hartman.
Yeah, Ryan Hartman. Yeah, Mike Hartman was 1.0 back in the day. But you're right.
My brain went with all my follicles.
You and me both. We're in good company there. More from Scott Arneal tonight. Postgame, still mad. Quote, any other top players in the league, elite players, get hit from behind into the boards, I'm pretty sure that's a penalty. Again, he's probably not wrong. In fact, he is not wrong, but it doesn't matter. At that point in time, the more important thing is getting your 2 points. And by virtue of the Jets' actions after that, they don't get the 2 points tonight. Let's get into the nitty-gritty details. Not that we already haven't, as we're about 20 minutes through into the post-game show here, but let's get into the Play Now game recap.
Sorry, it's my...
The Play Now game recap.
You never have to apologize for the dog barking. Now we want to see Iggy. That's the thing, is we now want to see Iggy.
I gotta take a timeout to get him out of here.
Okay. But Joe's gonna get rid of Iggy the dog while we continue here with the Illegal Curve post-game show. It, of course, is brought to you by our friends at Play Now, the official betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets. Play Now wants to send you and a guest to Toronto for a triple header to see the Raptors, the Jays, and the Leafs all in one epic getaway. Learn how to enter by checking out playnow.com. Conditions apply. 18 plus. Enjoy responsibly. Big thanks to our friends at Play Now. What kind of dog is Iggy?
He is a Aussie Shepherd, a toy Aussie Shepherd. So he's a very little dog, but he has a loud bark, and he wants to play right now. Of
course he does. It's late at night. This is the time that Iggy's got his energy right now. It's supposed to be bedtime, but
Indy, I-N-D-Y.
Oh, Indy. Sorry,
Indy.
Yeah, okay. Well, Indy sees Dad doing something, so now Indy wants the attention instead.
He wants his camera time.
Yeah, that's usually how it works. Again, the Jets deserving of a better fate in tonight's game. They open the scoring, something that has been hard for them to come by as of late. They make it 1-0 almost 2 different times. The first time, Gus Nyquist finally scored a goal, Joe.
It was a beautiful goal. Beautiful goal. And, we talked about mistakes, and we've compounded with Dylan DeMello, Morgan Barron, and Scott Arneal. What about Nino Niederreiter?
Yeah, going a little offside here.
How can you be offside on that play? Unbelievable.
And Gus Nyquist is probably saying the same thing. What's it going to take for me to get a goal for this Winnipeg Jets team?
Yeah. That was a beautiful, rush by Nyquist. Mm-hmm. I thought he was trying to pass it to Taves, but then thought better of it and went right through the defense and scores. What a beautiful goal. I thought he had a strong game tonight, but that goal taken off the board because Nino Niederreiter, who's standing alongside the boards at the blue line, decides to lift his skate and cross the line for absolutely no reason, because the puck wasn't coming to him.
Well, attention to detail, and that's exactly what you see there. A lack of attention to detail, and it ends up costing the Winnipeg Jets a goal in this instance. They do end up getting the opening goal at the 11:36 mark. It's a Josh Morrissey slap shot. You give Morrissey that much time, and you give him that much space, and he's able to walk in, he's probably going to beat the goaltender. He's going to be able to pick a corner, and that's what he did here, just absolutely blasting it past Jesper Wallstedt Wallstead, his 6th of the year, assist to Connor and Velarde.
And Kyle Connor made the play on that one. He brought the puck
Absolutely, he does.
up from his own, from the Jet zone into the Wild zone, gave it to Velarde. Velarde gave it back to Connor, and then Velarde went for a spill in front of the Wild net as the puck came back to Morrissey, who just stepped into one, and that was a clean shot, clean goal. And I think there's an article in the Toronto Star this week about where has the slap shot gone. Well, it was living tonight in Winnipeg.
Yeah, Morrissey with an old back scratcher on this one, but I mean, it's amazing. You know, everybody's eyes are on Kyle Connor, and you know, even despite that, I mean, you see the attention that is drawn towards him as he just breaks in there and he feeds it to Velarde, and then a nice give and go. And you know, it doesn't matter where Kyle Connor is on the ice; he's got such exquisite vision that he's able to just slow the play down. And I mean, he's just almost this season more than almost any other year. He just seems to be so in control of himself and the game when he's out there. You know, look, Brock Faber, who's the defenseman who's with him, is no slouch. I mean, this Minnesota Wild team is a very good hockey team. We know that. And, you know, Kyle Connor just toys with Brock Faber a little bit, then finds Morrissey. And then Morrissey is just, I mean, he just, like I said, walks in right down Main Street and absolutely wires it past Wallstead to give the Winnipeg Jets a much needed 1-0 lead at the 11:36 mark of the first period.
Yeah. And you know, and the Jets really look good. You know, in that first period, they looked outstanding. You know, should have been up 2-0 as we've noted here, and I thought that that top line was the top line again. But Mark Scheifele, I thought, had a great game, and that early on in that game, it was a good job of back checking by Scheifele to break up a Wild rush, and I thought he had a very strong game up until the overtime, which we'll get to later.
That's right, up until the overtime. Yeah, well, and to your point though, you know, Scheifele, Connor, Velarde, 5-on-5. You know, the shot attempts were 15-9 in their favor. Expected goals percentage in their favor, 67%. So they played very well for the Winnipeg Jets, which is what they need to do for the Jets.
Since they're the only line that's scoring, yes, unfortunately, they have to carry the team.
Absolutely, and that's exactly, you know, they did what they could for the most part in tonight's contest. The Wild tie it up just before the end of the second period with about a minute and a half to go. Matt Boldy, his 23rd of the season. Jared Spurgeon and Quinn Hughes get the assists on this one, and it's the Wild. You know, I mean, their top line, you know, out there against the Winnipeg Jets fourth line, and they really do number on the Jets on this one. And the Jets get caught in their own zone, and the Jets are a mishmash at this point in time. You have Taves, you have Barron, you have Pearson, you have Shen, and you have Morrissey on the ice for the Winnipeg Jets, because the Jets were they're just hemmed into their own zone, and the Wild have a great deal of zone time. And then Matt Boldy, again, a fortuitous bounce. That's not you know, that this is anything to do with fantastic play by Boldy, aside from him being in the right place at the right time, you know, being in front of Connor Hellebuck, which is, of course, where you need to be in this one. But the shot from Spurgeon deflects off of Matt Boldy, a tired Jets group caught on the ice, 1-1 on this goal. And that's how the first 20 minutes of tonight's game came to an end.
Yeah, and we mentioned it earlier, but Velarde taking a penalty with 1.5 seconds left in the first period, and the penalty at center ice. Like, again, no need for that. No need to put your team, you know, in the hole to start the second period. Yeah,
exactly right. There's no reason to do that. You're fine after 20 minutes at this one. But you know, again, you know, so it's a poor decision by Velarde to take that penalty. The Wild start the second period with the power play, but to the Jets' credit, they do kill it off, just like so they've killed off this penalty. But then the Wild, and I mean, Kirill Kaprizov is a superstar in this league, and you got to see it on this instance. He makes Dylan DeMello just look silly. I mean, he makes Connor Hellebuck look silly also, which is almost more, which is more impressive than making Dylan DeMello look silly. The Jets are in a good position here. This isn't a dangerous play until Scheifele's shot gets blocked by Yurov. And Yurov is able to headman it up the ice to Zuccarello, and he gets it over to Kirill Kaprizov. And Kaprizov is coming down to the right of Connor Hellebuck. He's coming down the left wing, and Dylan DeMello is just flat-footed at the blue line. And if you're flat-footed against Kirill Kaprizov, there's no contest here. I don't care who the defenseman is back there. You're not going to be able to catch up to him. You're not going to be able to turn and pivot. I mean, you're absolutely, that it's a feeling of dread coming your way. And Kaprizov comes in, blows past DeMello, cuts over, nifty backhand deke to beat Connor Hellebuyck. I mean, that's why Kaprizov is getting paid roughly about $18 gazillion for the next 10 years, because he deserves every penny of it, because you can't find players like that just anywhere on the open market.
True. Yeah. I mean, he always seems to score against the Winnipeg Jets. He also always seems to get injured when he plays the Winnipeg Jets. And he runs into Logan Stanley. But he was dominant tonight, as he is all the time. And we've talked about it earlier, how Dylan DeMello, got caught flat-footed, and it was just no match for Kirill Kaprizov. And Connor Hellebuyck, looked really ordinary on that. I know Kaprizov's an exceptional player, but I don't recall too many really game-breaking saves in this game by Hellebuyck. And if I go back to the Utah game, I thought 2 of the goals that Utah scored, he should have had, going back to that one. So, I mean, right now they need Connor to steal a game.
Well,
he hasn't yet done that. I mean, they won the one game, his first game back, 5-1 against Washington. He didn't need to steal that one.
But you know what the truth of the matter is, to your point, there, Joe. So, the Jets did a great job of not relying on Connor Hellebuyck for the majority of tonight's game. 11 shots against through the first 40 minutes. That's an easy, 11 shots against is a first period workload, not a 40-minute workload necessarily.
Usually a 10-minute workload.
Yeah, we've seen that for Connor Hellebuyck, or, back when Eric Comrie was starting when Hellebuyck was injured. I mean, I don't really have a problem with any of the goals the Wild have scored in tonight's game. I wouldn't describe any of them as weak. I thought they were, for the most, I mean, look, the first one is a traffic in front redirection. I mean, the second goal, Kaprizov here. Yeah, sure. You don't necessarily.
I'm just saying he hasn't made a big save. He hasn't, we're used to him making big saves and bailing this team out.
Right.
And in the last 2 games, he hasn't made a big save to bail the team out. Against St. Louis, he did that numerous times. And you can't fault him on the only goal that the Blues scored. But in the last 2 games, he hasn't made an exceptional save to steal a win for the team right now. Sure. That's the point I'm trying to make.
And that's a justifiable one. That's a very valid point. And that's 2-1 for the Minnesota Wild at that point in time. And then the Winnipeg Jets, again, we've played a pretty good game is what they're saying to themselves. And somehow we're down 2-1 almost at the halfway point of this game until late in the second period, where it's not quite a Dennis Back bang, bang, but it's 2 goals in the span of 2 minutes and 1 second to take a lead before the second period is over. Kyle Connor, his 18th of the season, assist to Mark Scheifele and Gabe Vilardi. You love the play by Vilardi on this one. I mean, he just wins a board battle. He wins a board battle against Quinn Hughes. Yeah. Quinn Hughes, who, by the way, is the official second coming, if you read all the hype about him ever since he got traded from Vancouver. But, I mean, Gabe Vilardi just out-muscles Quinn Hughes. He takes the puck in deep. Kyle Connor is there to feed it out to Mark Scheifele. Scheifele's down low to feed it out to Connor. We got my guys confused there. But, I mean, again, those guys have a sixth sense, and Gabe Vilardi is also getting that sixth sense of where his line mates are going to be. But you love it. You just win a puck battle all the way down the behind the Minnesota Wild net, and then Scheifele is there in support, and he gets it out to Connor, and it's on Connor's stick, and it's off his stick before Wallstead can almost react, and it's tied 2-2 with 2 minutes and 4 seconds to go in the second period.
Yeah, and obviously a good result for the Jets. They deserved to be at least tied, if not ahead, at that point of the game, because they were playing one of their best games in recent memory. I didn't see the Washington game. I was out of the country at that point, but I heard it. It just doesn't have the same feel when you can't see it. Yeah. But they were looking really good. I mean, all the lines were looking really good, and they deserve to be at least on equal footing with the Wild, who are the third best team, record-wise in the National Hockey League. So a good performance by the Jets, and you're thinking, okay, well, everybody's playing well, right?
Right.
And,
at this point in
could
time,
be the start of something, hopefully.
Well, at this point in time, if it's 2-2 after 40 minutes, you're happy with that. You're thinking, okay,
Yeah.
we've done what we need to do. That bonus goal, the goal which comes with 3 seconds left in the period, Scheifele, his 18th assist to Jonathan Taves. Boy, that should be a sort of back-breaking goal for the Minnesota Wild to some extent. Not back-breaking because they're too good of a team to have their back broken just by one goal, but that's a real boost for the Winnipeg Jets. Scheifele, just a clean face-off win by Jonathan Taves.
Yeah.
Which is great for Taves to finally get a meaningful point and meaningful contribution to this Winnipeg Jets team, because obviously the season hasn't gone how he wants. The season hasn't gone how the Jets wanted it to go from Jonathan Taves' perspective. If they have any chance of doing anything from here until the end of the season, it's going to take a better performance by Jonathan Taves, and maybe it starts with that face-off when at the end of the second period, clean win to Scheifele, and Scheifele into a shooter's position, and he beats Wallstead, his 18th of the year. 3 seconds to go. I got this from our buddy.
Seconds, wasn't it? 2 seconds.
Yeah, well, it says 1957 on the official game summary.
Okay, yeah, 3 seconds then.
Here's the stat courtesy of Mike Kelly. He does a lot of great work for NHL, the NHL Network, and a lot of different broadcasts. In fact, it's the 14th goal the Minnesota Wild have allowed off of a defensive zone face-off loss. Only the Anaheim Ducks have allowed more this season. So this has been a problem for the Wild this year. A problem area is them losing a draw and giving up a goal subsequent to that lost draw. 14th time it's happened to the Wild this year. The Jets take advantage and they lead 3-2 after 40 minutes.
Yeah, and good on the Jets, because they deserve to be in front the way they played the first 40 minutes. They deserve to be ahead by 1, if not by 2 or 3. There were a couple of goalposts in this game. Nyquist hit one, I think, in that. Yeah, he hit one on the power play in that second period.
Yeah.
Velarde hit one. Was that in the third, or was that also in the second period?
I think if you count the posts the Jets hit tonight, I think the Jets hit 4 posts altogether or something along those lines.
And the Wild hit a couple too behind Hellebuck. But the Jets deserve to be in front, and in some respects deserve to be ahead by more than just 1 goal at that point.
Yeah, well, they'll gladly take it into the third period being up 3-2, because that's where they almost deserve to be. And that's, it seemed like that was going to be how it was. They kill off the Logan Stanley slashing penalty. That's a bad penalty. The Stanley takes with about 6.5 minutes to go. The Jets kill off that penalty. And then, of course, what happens? Of course, we talked about it. Dylan DeMello takes the undisciplined cross-checking penalty with 30 seconds to go, and it takes the Minnesota Wild all of 8 seconds. Matt Zuccarello, his 3rd of the season, assist to Kirill Kaprizov, assist to Quinn Hughes. And again, just look at the sequence of events here. So obviously the Jets don't like the penalty that gets called, but so be it. The Wild win the draw. They move it around. It's not like it's a clean setup. They get a fortuitous bounce off of the end boards.
Yeah.
Hughes misses on the shot. It goes, Kaprizov is there and just sort of flips it back through 6 different sticks and skates. I don't think Kaprizov is, he probably knows that Zuccarello is there, but it's not like this is an exceptional play by Kaprizov, rather than it is more of a, I think
he knows there's got to be somebody out there.
Right. But the fact that he's able to blindly feed it through 3 or 4 guys is, again, I think that's a lot of puck luck, if you will, rather than it is anything, it just goes to show you when you're struggling, the bounces somehow always find a way to go against you.
Yes.
And that's what I think, to some extent happened here. It's just the Jets can't get out of their own way a little bit and just take a clean 2 points. Nothing's easy for the Winnipeg Jets. And it's just another example of it here on this game tying goal with 22 seconds to go.
Yeah. And of course we talked about the face off, and that Morgan Barron took the face off, and it's just, the way it's been going for them. You knew once they lost the faceoff, the Wild were going to score. I think we all knew that. Like, even everybody watching knew as soon as they lost that faceoff, the Wild were going to tie it up. And that's exactly what they did, which takes us to overtime.
Overtime, exactly. And the Jets start overtime with the trio that they should always start overtime with. Let's not overthink anything here. It's Connor, it's Scheifele, it's Morrissey. For the Minnesota Wild, they counter with Matt Boldy. They counter with, I think it was Quinn Hughes was also on the ice.
Kaprizov,
yeah, and Kaprizov. I mean, this is strength on strength. This is, the big guns against the big guns. And the Jets get a great opportunity that leads to a good opportunity by Mark Scheifele. Now, he's a little standstill on the shot. So does he get absolutely everything that I think he wants to get on it? I don't think he does. But it's a really heads-up play by Wallstead to not freeze the puck. Wallstead makes the nice glove save, and boy, is that a heads-up play by him to keep the puck moving, to get it out of his glove before the officials can blow it dead, because all of a sudden now the Minnesota Wild, they have possession, and I mean, they make no mistake about it. They get the goal, but you have to look at Mark Scheifele's effort on this play and just cringe a little bit.
No, you cringe a lot.
Okay, fair enough.
You cringe a lot because he's trying to make the Olympic team, and
I guess there's no
he's going to make it as a third or fourth line player.
Right.
And in this game, I thought he was playing well defensively. I thought he had an outstanding defensive game. It was a 200-foot game.
Mm-hmm.
But what happened on the overtime winner? Because he was back there.
Right.
He was back at the Jets blue line. Right.
He just
How did Boldy get? Did he just forget that Boldy was on the ice? He just let him go.
It's like he's Kaprizov walks him in the neutral zone, and then he just goes for a skate. And there's just you can't be the last man back in that situation. No matter what happens while you're in the neutral zone, you can't put yourself into a position where it's a 3-on-2 for the Minnesota Wild. I mean, that's what happens here.
It wasn't a 3-on-2.
It is after he whiffs. He whiffs on Kaprizov. But then
it's a 3-on-2. You're right. But not coming up the ice. He was back.
That's right. I'm saying you have to almost you have to line yourself up, three guys at the blue line and not let once you do an Olay in the neutral zone, well, it's 3-on-3 overtime, just like Adam Lowry did it in Utah. Once you do that Olay, you are in a lot of trouble because it's an odd man rush and there's too much room on the ice, too much room for the opponent to do something dangerous here. And that's, of course, what the Minnesota Wild do as the puck ends up on Matt Boldy's stick, his 24th assist to Hughes and Kaprizov, to give the Wild I guess not a well-deserved, but a very attractive 4-3 victory for the team from Minnesota. But Mark Scheifele, Mark Scheifele has to know better. Adam Lowry has to know better going back to the Utah game. You just cannot do an Olay in that period of time in 3-on-3 overtime.
No, that one, Mark Scheifele has to take the responsibility on that one. I mean, everybody else was back. He was back, and then he just disappeared for a split second. And that's all you need when you're playing 3-on-3. If one guy goes where he's not supposed to go, now you're in a hole. And the Wild took advantage of that pretty easily.
Right. And the reward, it's a high risk play, but the reward at that point in time is so minimal. I mean, theoretically he could, if he knocks the puck off the stick, he could theoretically have a breakaway. But it also, given the circumstances, yes, you might have a breakaway, but you're also pretty much at the end of a shift. You might be gassed. I don't know how much you have left in the tank to take advantage of that breakaway, that theoretical breakaway opportunity.
Mark Scheifele doesn't come off the ice easily.
That's true. I know.
We all know that.
Right, of course. But it's just, that's not the time and the place to make a risky play like that. Is the circumstances. He needs to know better. I mean, again,
he does know better.
And he does. And it's hard to criticize that top line because they've been so good all year and they were so good tonight that
they're carrying the team.
No question about it. They are
absolutely. You can't make mistakes like that when points are critical.
And that goes to show you the margin of error for this Winnipeg Jets team is so thin. Yeah. They almost have no margin for error because
it seems whenever they make an error, it goes in the net.
Isn't that what always happens to the struggling team? You make one mistake and you can play a perfect game, and then you make one mistake and somehow it ends up in the back of your net.
That's the story of this season for this team. Whenever they make mistakes, it goes in the back of the net. And I thought tonight, like for the majority, this was a team that didn't turn the puck over in the neutral zone. Early in the third period, they did. That's when they reverted back to their old ways for the first 5 minutes of that third period. But before that, and even after that, they weren't turning the puck over, in the neutral zone and getting caught on the turnaround, as they have been so many times this season. And, it was such a well-played game by the team that this loss, losing in overtime, is such a gut punch.
Yeah, it is.
It's just like the Ottawa game was a gut punch. The Utah game was a gut punch. I mean, how many more times can you take it, before the season really is over for them.
That's just it. They don't have any, there's no runway there. There's no, there's nothing there's no room for error. And that's exactly where the Winnipeg Jets are. I mean, they have not won a game in 5 now. I mean, so the winless streak, yes, they've got points tonight, and they got a point on whenever that was before the break against the Utah Mammoths.
Yeah.
You need 2 points. You need a clean 2 points, and they didn't get it. And that's just another continuing story of the Winnipeg Jets season. And oh, by the way, things don't get any easier. You have the Edmonton Oilers coming to town on Monday night instead.
But that's a team they've usually played well against. Except for that game recently in Edmonton.
Not last time.
But that's a team that, for some reason, maybe because they're so afraid of what McDavid and Draisaitl will do to them, that they've usually played well the last 2 or 3 seasons against Edmonton, but not counting that last game where, again, they didn't show up for the first period.
Absolutely. Jets lose 4-3 tonight in overtime against the Minnesota Wild. When we return on the Illegal Curve post-game show, we'll look ahead briefly to Monday night against the Oilers, talk a little bit more about this game as well. Whatever you're doing, don't go anywhere. Much more to come. And while we go to break, smash that like button. Drew Mindell, Joe Pascucci, special edition of the Illegal Curve post-game show coming your way on this Saturday night.
I want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling sites instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now you might have questions like,
do our profits benefit your community?
No.
Or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Center. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime. Visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Center.
Boys, I've made an important life decision, and I need your support.
Oh, boy.
I've decided to get a grill.
You mean a barbecue grill for cooking? Like, that's not an important life decision, Ezzy.
No. A grill for my teeth.
A grill for your teeth? Do I even want to know why you're doing this?
It's simple, really. Every time I go to Holt Dental, I get treated so very well by Dr. John and his team that I need to keep finding additional reasons to go back. I rely on Holt Dental for all of my dental needs, and they do it all, from regular cleanings to cosmetic dentistry. Plus, they have free parking at their front door, and you know how much I love my convenient parking.
For all your dental needs, Illegal Curve recommends Holt Dental, conveniently located on Taylor Avenue near Grant Park Mall. For more information, visit them online at holtdental.ca.
Guys, big news. You know how I'm always misplacing my cool stuff? Well, Big Daddy has a new hobby, labeling.
Labeling is your new hobby.
You got it. Ever since I discovered Label Daddy's washable labels, I just can't stop labeling. I'm labeling water bottles, hockey sticks, cereal boxes, roast chickens, team jerseys. Everything deserves a label.
I can think of a label or two for you.
Best part is that Label Daddy is the only label company officially licensed by the NHL. So my labels are personalized and can have the Jets logo on them. Just search NHL on the Label Daddy website.
For almost 2 decades, Label Daddy has been helping people to not lose their stuff. It's the most affordable insurance policy around.
For customized, washable, peel and stick labels with no ironing or sewing required, visit labeldaddy.com and search NHL for the label pack belonging to your favorite team.
For over 40 years, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has been Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy. Renowned in the comedy world as a must-play venue, Rumors has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers, wedding socials, and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase show tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
At Boston Pizza, a fast lunch doesn't have to mean fast food. Now you can get a $15 lunch served in just 20 minutes, including your choice of a main, side, and drink. That's right, lunch for $15 at your local Boston Pizza.
10 minutes before the top of the hour, welcome back to the Illegal Curve post-game show. Drew Mandel, Joe Pascucci here tonight talking about the Winnipeg Jets. 4-3 defeat at the hands of the Minnesota Wild. Definitely a disappointing result after a well-played game by the Winnipeg Jets. But for a team like the Jets, who've been struggling for as long as they've been struggling, moral victories, just not enough for this team. Let me ask you this, Joe, before we sort of begin to wrap up tonight's post-game show. You know, the roster freeze is still on. It ends, I believe, tonight.
Midnight, yeah.
Yeah. By the way, this is a complete aside, but it's utterly incomprehensible that the NHL would have a roster freeze still be on and have games being played. Like the two things are counterintuitive to one another. If you want the roster freeze to start while the league is on hiatus, that makes perfectly fine sense. Even if you want it to start a day or two before you go on hiatus,
which they did. Yes, there is a roster freeze or no trade freeze, right?
Right
before the Christmas break
wraps up. It doesn't make any sense. Why are you hamstringing these teams, you know, for one extra day on the back end and 2 extra days on the front end? It's just a bizarre NHL thing. It's like, you know, you're telling a team that, no, sorry, you can't, you know, not that the Jets would necessarily make any changes, because I don't think that they would have, but you're telling your franchises, I'm sorry, you have to play with what you could consider a non-optimal lineup because of some arbitrary roster freeze that you've put in place. It just
and I'm sure that's okay. We can blame the NHL, but it's also probably a PA thing too, because so it's both of them. So there must be some logic to it,
right?
But we can't figure it out.
No, I mean, yes, I mean it's a contractually negotiated thing, but it's just so utterly bizarre to me that you would have a roster freeze while games are going on. It just, you know, what happens if, you know, 3 players were ill? I mean, obviously didn't happen, but it could conceivably happen. Or you could have players who are banged up, and so now you can't make roster moves, or anyways, these are rhetorical questions.
I think it's just trades. I don't know if it's a roster.
It's rosters. You can't send guys down or move guys up. You can't bring them, you know, up from the A.
Well, I know that. Yeah. Well, I guess it's the part about not sending guys down is so that you know, someone who's, you know, maybe plays in the minors and he's up just before Christmas doesn't get sent back down, so he's, you know, earning less money at the Christmas season. I think that's true. Could be part of it, because we know how sneaky owners can be.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, anyways, I just find it odd that you can't change your roster. So forgetting that comment aside, people have been clamoring for roster changes. I mean, the Jets have, you know, even Scott Arniel has been, to some extent, you know, I wouldn't expect anything before Monday because they played well tonight.
Yes.
But do you think that the team, it gets to a point, or we're close to the point where the other shoe might drop, and as a result,
you can't go status quo. Like
they have us this far.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's Nyquist and Tanner Pearson.
Sure,
right?
Pearson taking another offensive zone penalty again tonight.
Yeah, I mean, Nyquist I thought played well tonight.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he looked really good. I mean, I can't say it was his best game as a Jet because I haven't seen all of them, but you know, he was noticeable out there.
Right.
He made things happen.
Scored a goal that was taken off the board, but he scored a goal.
So he made things. Pearson, not so much. Didn't see too much from him. Right. Perfetti, at the end of the game, he wasn't on the ice, right? Because they put Taves out there with Nemestikov and Niederreiter. They switched up that line. Iafallo wasn't out there late in the game, and usually he's a reliable player for Scott O'Neill, but for some reason he wasn't out there late in the game. Iafallo or Perfetti for, I guess, obvious reasons. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I just wish there were some players playing well with the Moose. You know, maybe you need the Gus Bus back. You know, you need Gustafsson up here.
Well, you know, we're not even talking about the young players who would probably look out of place, like the guys who are, you know, in their first year of professional hockey, the former first round picks, the prospect guys. I don't think that it's the veteran guys who've had NHL experience that you wonder if, you know, they might not provide some sort of jolt. I mean, we've been talking about it for months on end at this point in time.
They can't stay status quo. I mean, Cheveldayoff doesn't do anything. I can't imagine he's not going to do something, right? That's you know.
I'd be surprised if it happens for Monday against the Oilers, but
you don't want to do that against McDavid and Draisaitl and a team that, you know, they're playing tonight, obviously on Hockey Night right now as we speak, but you know, you got to do something, right? You know, you just can't leave it as this. You have to do something. You've got to get other lines scoring. I thought that Adam Lowry has, you know, played one of his better games down the stretch. He's been struggling this season as well, and he's still recovering from the hip surgery that he had. He's not 100%, but he's giving it all he can.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. Is you got too many guys who are banged up or injured or still injured or whatever it might be. Because
when Logan Stanley, and I'm a big Logan Stanley fan, I know I'm taking a lot of abuse for that, but when Logan Stanley looks to be your third or fourth best defenseman, something is wrong. But he's playing really well in the limited minutes he gets, and even Scott O'Neill has put him out there killing penalties.
Well, you know what? He's turning into an offensive juggernaut. So for a team that can't score, you need all the offense you can get wherever you can get it. At least
his shot hits the net for the most part.
And, you know, shoot and good things happen is also what you can see. Joe, thank you. Now, just, you know, quick, you know, you worked the World Series and now you're working the post-game show for Illegal Curve. Which one has greater sort of, which one's going to go on the in the historical record book for you as more prominent? I assume I know the answer.
I love doing the Illegal Curve show, talking about the Jets. I love talking about the Winnipeg Jets, but the World Series, that was an experience I'd never had before in my life, and that was a lot of fun, as this was tonight. You know, I thought, oh, wow, the Jets are going to win. We can be so positive. And I only have one final question. Did anybody, and I'm going to have to watch the post-game interviews after, did anyone ask Scott O'Neill about that?
I don't believe so. I haven't seen any. I haven't seen any, and I haven't seen anything along those lines. I wonder if it's a question. You know what? I bet you it's a question that gets asked tomorrow. The Jets are scheduled to skate tomorrow. I would not be surprised if that's a question that maybe gets asked tomorrow.
I haven't seen it. I don't want to admonish the Winnipeg media that is working there now, but that was an obvious question. If it wasn't asked, I'm disappointed.
I would have thought it was going to be asked as well, but I wonder if it's going to be tomorrow that they ask it now when he has 24 hours to sort of cool down a little bit.
And will Scott O'Neill let us know what the fine was from the National Hockey League?
That's also a separate issue entirely. The NHL's never shy about publicizing fines. They're always happy to tell people that when they never tell you, they're always good about selectively informing. Oh, you criticize the referees too much, we're going to fine you for that. But they'll never tell you when the referee has been disciplined privately for screwing up and making an error in judgment.
Exactly.
But, such is the nature of the beast that this sport provides for all of us. In any event, Joe, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it. We always love the opportunities that we have to get together with you. So thank you for making the show a lot more palatable and a lot more enjoyable for everybody who got to watch it with the two of us.
All right.
We remind everybody, if you haven't already done so, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the podcast, and leave us some feedback. Let us know what you think of the Illegal Curve post-game show, as well as the Illegal Curve hockey show. We'll be back with the Illegal Curve hockey show next Saturday. We took this Saturday, still spend it with our family. So next Saturday, back at the regular 9 a.m. hour. Big thanks to all the sponsors who make this show, the Saturday show, the website a possibility. That's our friends at Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, Play Now, Holt Dental, City Place, Wheatland Hockey, Boston Pizza, and of course, Label Daddies. Support these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve Hockey. Plenty of post-game coverage still to come on illegalcurve.com. For Joe Piscucci, I am your host, Drew Mandel. Thanks, everybody, for joining us until Monday night. And after the Jets and the Edmonton Oilers, we wish you good night and good luck. And thanks for watching the Illegal Curve post-game show.
Thanks, everyone.